In my many years as a professor specializing in xenoarchaeology, I have had many encounters with artifacts or specimens of the unnatural and otherworldly. Although perhaps less respected by my colleagues than other fields of research, mine has taken me to countless curious spots on the globe. Nothing, however, before or since has left me in such a state of fear and madness as that which I encountered on the Thatcher farm in the April of 1920. I had been exchanging letters with the sole proprietor of the property, Archibald Thatcher, for a month before I decided to visit his farm to more thoroughly investigate the strange circumstances that led him to contact me. What I encountered there, however, turned out to be too horrifying to share with others in my field, let alone with humanity itself. I have, since the event, become reclusive and guarding of my findings, and am only writing now because I feel that some record of these occurrences must be kept, even if it will not be read by others, hopefully, until long after I have passed. The start of these terrors was for me on the 22nd, a Thursday. I had just arrived in Vermont that morning and spent the earlier part of the day driving to the farm. I arrived just as dusk was falling upon the hills of that cursed valley.
I'm glad you can make it, Professor, on such a short notice.
Not to worry, Mr. Thatcher, I was glad to come. The particulars of your situation, though grim, interest me immensely, and I think I may be able to be of some help to you.
And things have only gotten stranger since last I wrote to you.
Oh?
Come take a look. Just, past that rock. The field.
My God, man, when did this happen?
A few days after this all started, about a month ago. The crops started to die, and a week or so later the ground became like tar, black and viscous. The whole yield was lost, and I haven't managed to get anything to grow since.
What did you grow?
Well, corn over there, and potatoes that away.
What about this barn? Do you have animals? Jesus.
I did.
How did this... When did this...
3 nights ago. I found several of the cattle had been mauled just beyond the ridge over there, so I locked up the rest of the livestock in here.
It looks like they... turned on each other.
Does indeed, Professor.
I've never known herbivorous livestock to do such things.
No, sir. I found them like this the next morning. That one there was still alive.
The lamb?
Yes. I ran back inside to get something to bandage it, and when I came back, it had loosed some crates sitting on the tractor and...
crushed itself. But what could it have been trying to do, unless...
I think so.
No, it couldn't be. No animal has ever been confirmed to have...
She had just seen her family and friends rip each other apart with their bare teeth. Don't you think there's some chance that...
What was that?
It came from the forest.
I thought I heard it come from over... the trees. They look... wrong.
Huh. Feel the bark.
It's like leather, almost. What kind of trees are these?
Red pine.
What? Then why are they...
Sort of looks like flesh, if you ask me.
Why, Mr. Thatcher, this is absolutely extraordinary. Do you think we could go deeper into the forest?
Oh, no, it's far too late for that.
Very well. Perhaps in the morning. Do you have anything to show me closer to the house?
Yes, I do. The well has been...
Actually, do you mind if I take a sample of the tree sap first?
Well, go right ahead.
Do you have a knife on you?
Here you go. God help us, what is that?
The sap, well, clearly it's just discolored.
I ain't never seen a tree that bleeds, Professor.
On second thought, perhaps a sample can wait until tomorrow. What was it you were saying about the well?
Ever since the first night, when the sky lit up in a flurry of electric color, the well water has been contaminated, so to speak.
How can you tell?
Well, take a look.
The surface of the water appears vaguely opalescent, and it looks thicker than it ought to.
I took one sip of this stuff and spit it out because it tasted like nothing I've ever drank before. Extremely sour and biting worse than the stiffest whiskey. Anything I try to wash it in becomes tarnished and spotted. I've been going into town to pick up jugs of fresh water to use.
You've been going into town?
Well, yes, but only while the sun's up. Speaking of which, we should get inside.
Of course.
Can I get you some tea? Coffee?
Perhaps later. Tell me more about going into town.
Not much to tell. I pick up some provisions, water, tools if I need them, and I always bring my dogs. Or at least I used to.
You had dogs?
Yes, mastiffs. 2 of them.
What happened to them?
Professor Brinkley, that is what I've been wanting most to talk to you about.
I'm afraid I don't understand.
Last night I took this photograph over by the shed in the back.
It looks like some kind of print or track, but not made by any animal I've ever encountered.
It rained the night before, and so the dirt was damp, and I could tell the mark was fresh.
It appears that most of the creature's weight is centered over this oblong hexagonal shape in the center, surrounded by these triangles, almost like arrowheads scattered around the edges.
It's hard to tell in photo, but the prints were about 1.5 feet in diameter.
Prints? Were there more?
Well, yes, but none as clear as that one. I traced the prints and other slash-like markings back to the shed, so I took Silas and Roscoe with me to investigate.
The dogs?
Yes.
What time of day was it?
It was just after dusk. I thought, having the dogs with me, that I wouldn't need to worry about the light.
Come on, boys.
Did you have a gun with you?
I did.
That gun there? On the coffee table?
Yes, sir.
Continue.
The door to the shed was hanging open off of one hinge. The lock I had placed on the handle had been split open. It appeared as though the iron had been melted in some way. Little drops of metal dotted the dirt beneath the door handle.
What the hell?
And there was a noise coming from the inside when I approached. It sounded like a big, rattling lung gasping for air.
Did you go inside the shed, Mr. Thatcher?
No, and thank the Lord I didn't. I was going to send the dogs in after the thing, but they must have seen better in the dark than I did, because as soon as I opened the door, they took one look and ran off.
Silas! Roscoe! Oh, hell.
And you haven't seen them since?
No, I have not, Professor. These dogs have stood up against black bears that sometimes wander in from the forest, and yet whatever they saw filled them with such terror as to send them running God knows how far with their tails between their legs.
What happened next?
I turned my back on the shed for a moment, surprised by the dog's sudden flight, and then...
Mr. Thatcher?
I'm sorry.
What happened next?
The thing must have come up from behind me. I didn't get a good look at it, but it knocked me off my feet, and and then I heard it thumping away towards the forest.
You didn't see it at all?
When I turned my head to the forest, I saw nothing but broken branches and more of those markings, clustered in threes between the shed and the spot where it had disappeared.
And you say the thing touched you when it shoved you?
That it did, yes, though I don't recall it ever making contact with my skin. I felt this force on my shoulder that sent me to the ground, then a searing pain.
The bandage?
Yes?
May I see? My God. Man, have you seen a physician? A burn like that.
I didn't want the police involved. I knew that...
I have never seen anything like that before. What did you do to treat it?
When I got up, the skin appeared as though it was boiling, and I barely made it back to the house before I passed out from the shock. When I came to, it was withered and black, and all the feeling had gone from the spot.
Mr. Thatcher, I have come to my conclusion. No man or beast of this earth could have caused such an inexplicable injury, and your story, as well as the things we've seen today, are reminiscent of a tale I have encountered in my studies, one from a very ancient and cursed book. I am now convinced that there are other powers at work here, and it is imperative that I contact my colleagues from the university to... That sounded like it came from...
The shed.
Is that the...
Yes, it is.
Is it outside?
No, don't look out the window.
But what if it's...
No, don't look at it. The sight of this thing was enough to drive 2 of the fiercest dogs in the state mad.
What are we going to...
The dogs.
Mr. Thatcher, what are you doing?
I'm going to find them.
You can't go out there.
I have waited in fear of this thing for too long.
No, Archibald, don't.
Roscoe! Silas! Where are you?
Archibald, where are you? Do you see it?
I don't see... My God!
Mr. Thatcher! Archibald! Damn it all to hell. Back door. Back door. Back door. There! God! I drove for miles in a daze as far from that infernal place as I could get. I did not stop or speak to anyone until the sun rose, and the trip back to Massachusetts was one of fear and panic. I hoped to God that what I had seen had been some kind of illusion, or perhaps a mirage. If the encounter had not, in fact, been a product of my imagination, then it perhaps proves countless theories about worlds beyond our own. Yet I would not have shared the experience with the world for all the credibility that its horrific truths could have offered me. To so much as describe the appearance of the beast would be in and of itself too cruel, not to mention almost impossible. The very sight of the thing has caused me to experience a rapid deterioration in cerebral function, and I suspect I will have lost all connection to reality within the next few years. Thus, I have resolved to record these incidents only as a warning, to whoever finds this, that they should not wish to venture into the forests of Vermont at night in search of the terrors that will inevitably drive them mad. I have burned all the paper evidence of my communications with Archibald Thatcher so that this document will be the only remaining account of these most hideous and detestable events. Professor Leopold Brinkley, 1923.